It is. Hey, what are you doing?
The democracy. The democracy. That is called. Come on, you can say it.
The balance of powers.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Hernandez, and district staff. The time is now 6:04 on this 24th day of July, 2018, and I call the meeting of the Edgewood Independent School District to order. I will call the roll. Vice President Frank Espinosa,
Present.
Secretary Stella Camacho,
Here.
Board Member Timothy Payne,
Present.
Board Member Richard Santoyo.
Here.
Board President Roy Soto, I'm here as well. Let the record show that a quorum of the Board of Managers is present and that this meeting has been duly called and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Would everyone please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. Thank you. We will now move to action item A. The Texas Commissioner of Education has authorized 2 elected officials to recite the oath and assume the responsibility of trustees for Edgewood ISD. Mrs. Martha Castilla and Mr. Edward Romero, will you please come forward? Please stand in front of the dais and face the community. Ms. Amelia Portillo, would you please come forward and administer the statement and oath?
Recite your name after I. I solemnly swear that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value, or promise any public office or employment for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election at which I was elected, or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation, whichever case may be, so help me God. And this will be the oath of office. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I have faithfully execute the duties of the office of the school board trustee of Edgewood Independent School District of the state of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws and the United States of this state, so help me God. Congratulations, Board of Trustees.
They can take another picture of you. Please come join us. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present. All Board of Managers and Board of Trustees are present and accounted for. We will now move to citizens to be heard. We have 3 citizens that will be addressing us this evening. Keep in mind that you have 3 minutes to share your thoughts. You can manage your time either on the right screen or the left screen. We'll begin with Ms. Angelic Martinez, and she will be addressing, some information regarding the ISD Council of PTAs. Ms. Martinez?
We just wanted to quickly say thank you to the superintendent and welcome him to our community. We're looking forward to working with him, and we bought him a little goodie bag with some PTAs. So thank you. Discuss other PTA stuff when we meet with you in August. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll have Mr. Jorge Alonso Perez, and he will be addressing dancing with the children.
Good evening, good afternoon, Dr. Hernandez, Soto, and the Board of Managers. My name is Jorge Alonso Perez, and I'm the founder and CEO of Dance Therapy. And Dance Therapy has 5 wonderful programs here in the neighborhood. And one of them is Dancing with the Children, that we've been a part of Edgewood Independent School District for the past 10 years. And we feel very, very honored to be here. So as you can see, I wanted to introduce you to some of the children and their parents also. They're here. What they do, not only it's about dancing, but it's about leadership and also bringing families together. This past year, we had a theme of I am that I am. I am fantastic. I am wonderful. I am fabulous. Well, this coming year, if God's willing, and with your support, we're going with the theme, we are. We are familia. We are together. And that's one of the things that we're going to be teaching the children. And I know that some of them wanted to come in and introduce themselves. So,
hi, my name is Harmony Rodriguez, and my passion is to become a dancer.
Hi, my name is Daisy Rodriguez, and my passion is to become a dancer for the Dancer with the Children.
Hi, my name is Jacob. My passion is doing math.
and so we also have one of our board members, Mr. Jesse Torres.
Hi, my name is Mr. Jesse Torres. I'm a board member of Dancing with the Children, and I met previously different meetings in the past, and I support Dancing with the Children. I've been with the program for 6 years, and I would like to keep it going. We're here. Parents are here. I've been a parent as well, and I've been part of Dancing with the Children. My children have been part of Dancing with the Children. I would like the program to continue, so let's do it.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to also congratulate the new board members. And God bless you, and I know that there's going to be some wonderful things coming, to our barrio, because that's what we need. And I know you got the corazón of the barrio, and that's what we're all about. And with that, I just want to say thank you, and God bless you all. We'll see you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll have Mr. Jose Arzola. He'll be addressing an agenda item.
Good evening, appointed members and elected trustees. My name is Jose Arzola. I am here this evening to first congratulate our newly impaneled elected trustees. This is a step in the right direction in returning ownership of our school district to its rightful owners, the citizens of Edgewood. This is a bittersweet moment. Secondly, I'm here to voice my concerns that are listed in agenda item 8A and B, which are appointment of chief of schools for elementary, appointment for chief of schools for secondary. First of all, a little background. Over the last 10 years, Edgewood student population has steadily declined. Just recently, for school year 2016-2017 school year, our student population was 10,878. In school year 2017-2018, it was 10,095. A 789 decline in student enrollment. For school year 2018 and 2019, the district is forecasted to have an enrollment of 9,870, a drop of 223 students. On the administration side, a different story. The administration cost ratio to instructional ratio in 2016-2017 was 10.04%. For 2017-2018, the ratio went up to 2,000.87, a 0.83% increase. What this ratio indicates is that a school district is top-heavy in administrators and or salaries. This is unacceptable. Another example is that recently there was a job posting for chief of schools listed in the Edgewood ISD employment page. When I called to inquire as to why this position was created, I did not receive a satisfactory answer. I commented that we currently have an individual filling that position. Based on that job description for the position of chief of schools, one of the primary responsibilities is to provide leadership, guidance, and counseling to campus administrators. Therefore, the question begs to be asked, are the current campus administrators not qualified for these positions? Why were they promoted or placed in these positions? Paid top salaries if they are not qualified and need all this training and guidance. I would assume that as members of the school board, whether appointed or elected, would be good stewards in the community's tax dollars. Why are we paying high salaries to these individuals and placing them in these positions if they are not qualified? Are campus administrators bringing in their own friends and recommending individuals based on personal relationships? Or is our HR department not competent to screen individuals for these positions? I strongly urge you that you members of the board disapprove and re-examine these positions and to focus more in placing tax dollars where they belong, in the classroom, our teachers, custodial workers, parent liaison, and cafeteria workers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Arzola. We will continue with presentations and discussions. Dr. Hernandez, you have the floor.
Mr. Soto, for our next item 4A, you will be hearing about the Lone Star Governance Monthly Monitoring Report for July 2018. Our presenter is Mr. Phil Chavez, our Chief Academic Officer for the district.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Managers, newly elected board trustees. Our 2018 goal progress measure is for student outcome 2, which is looking at the percentage of students in 3 through 8 and their achievement on STAR reading. Goal progress measure 2.1 is the percentage of students in grades 3 through 5 who meet the standard of 63% for this particular school year. This particular school year, we reached the target at 60%, which was 3 percentage points below. As we can see here for GP 2.1, we can see the average from our EISD and past years, and also the current year in blue, and then the 18 through 2022 goals. The next piece is for our goal progress measure, student outcome goal 2, and in this case, we're looking at grades 3 through 8 again. For progress measure 2.2, the goal for this year was 60%, and the goal progress measure came in at 59%, 1 percentage below that particular goal. As you can see for this subsequent slide, we have the previous history along with those students that were with us previously and students who were with us the entire year. And then for this year, we had the November and February piece for grades 6 through 8, which was utilizing iStation. At that time, we did no longer use that particular piece because the indicator was not providing us with the information on an accurate basis, and switched to the actual percentage for the STAR reading. And in this case, it was at 59% for grades 6 through 8. The next piece for our goal progress measure is goal 3, 4-year longitudinal graduation rate. And in this case, our target for this year was goal progress measure 3.2, which was the attendance goal. The attendance goal was 93.2, and we fell short at 92.9, 0.3 percentage points below the attendance component for this particular year. As we look at the progress measure, last year we sat at 95.8 and altogether 93.1. So we came back to, as you can see, at the 92.9, which is a tad bit from last year, but not meeting the particular goal for this year. The next component is GPM 1.1, the number of designated high-needs campuses with teachers with less than 2 years' experience will decrease to 0 by the end of school year 2022. This particular year, the number of TEA-designated campuses that is projected to have those high needs by TEA is approximately 8, and each of these 8 do not have teachers with less than 2 years. One of the pieces that we want to look at for the aforementioned components in conference with Dr. Hernandez is to look at what those progress measures or those goals will be for those areas, and we'll continue with the subsequent year goal. In this case, we'd like to look at what those numbers are. We do have numbers for each individual campus, so we might want to look at an increment from where we were last year to where we are this year by district and by campus. The final piece was the constraint number 2, making sure that we have goal-oriented professional learning, that we do not decrease by that number. The baseline was established in January 2018 and set at 58.1. The student outcome goal for as of June 30th was 70.4%, fully 174 out of 248 courses, professional development courses, offered from December 2017 at the time when we took our baseline to June 2018, focused on the 3 Lone Star Governance student outcome goals. You recall, first goal was looking at increasing literacy in grades K through 3. Second goal was looking at literacy grades 3 through 8. And the third goal was looking at increasing college preparedness for our students. Thank you.
Board members, do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chavez.
Yes, ma'am.
With regards to that CPM 1.1, the number of TEA designated high needs campuses, could you just explain that a little bit? Is that saying that we have campuses that have high needs and the teachers there or need to be more than 2 years experience? Or?
The idea is to have teachers that have experience and have proven track records at campuses identified as high need campuses. Currently, those 8 campuses have a percentages of above 9% through 33% of their teachers having approximately that percentage with 2 or less years experience. So the idea, and this is also a title, a federal programs component, where they want to look at, in our high need school, do we have a qualified teacher that have experience? And so one thing that we want to offer is that we quantify that and look at what that number is. As we go through, every campus, every district has new teachers, have teacher turnover for whatever reasons. It may be because they're moving or their spouse is moving or family. And so we want to look at what that baseline is. So we're going to be working with the human resource or the talent management department to identify what those cut points would be. 0 is by the end of the year. So we may have some new teachers, so we're going to look at those pieces. But again, our 8 schools have between 9 and 33% turnover, or basically 9 to 33% of their teachers have 2 or less years of experience.
And that's years through their lifetime, not with our district.
Correct. Not years with the district. Good point.
And also, the July 2018 monitoring report under constraint number 2, student outcome goal-oriented professional learning. How is that measured, or how do we know that the items being taught were goal-oriented? Is there like a standard they meet? Or?
Yes, that's a very good question. We have a system called Eduphoria, and in Eduphoria there's a system called Workshop. In Workshop, we list all professional development that teachers participate in. Teachers are able to sign in, and as we set up those particular workshops, one of the requirements is to identify the goals, which goals those particular workshops align to. So if it is any one of the 3 Lone Star governance goals, then that is indicated in the professional development. At the end of the day, or rather in this case it was June 30th, we look at all of the professional development opportunities that were offered, and then we identify what number of those met goal 1, 2, or 3 related to Lone Star governance. Yes, ma'am. We also have other metrics that we utilize because we receive Title II funds. We have to say what teachers or what paraprofessionals or what staff members or support staff members attended those particular trainings for content areas and fine arts, so forth and so on.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chavez, what are we doing to curtail the turnover rates for us?
The turnover rates for teachers?
Yeah, what are we doing to curtail it?
I'd like to ask our talent management piece, but I do want to say this. One of the pieces that we're looking at is building capacity within the teachers, providing them with the professional development that they need to do their job inside the classroom. Sometimes, again, some teachers find work elsewhere. And I know that the talent management department, when they leave, they do have exit interviews to give us an idea for what reason are they leaving. I'd like to ask Mr. McIlvain if he can provide some additional pieces for that, as that lies within talent.
Good evening. So it's a multi-tiered effort, really. So professional development opportunities that come through our curriculum leadership and innovation department and our professional development department. But also this year we instituted surveys of both new teachers and then campus level surveys to really understand the needs of teachers. Particularly with our new teachers that we hired this past school year, we had multiple events with those individuals where we actually met here for dinner in cooperation with our friends over at TSTA to really understand kind of their needs and how we as a district can support them. And then using the feedback that we received, that feedback was delivered to departments so that we can mobilize efforts across the entire district. And certainly in our area, we have some natural turnover that occurs through relocation. We have turnover that occurs through individuals who seek opportunities to be closer to their homes. And, so if we have a number of teachers that live on the outside edges of San Antonio, then, of course, if there's an opportunity that presents themselves, often they will decide to move closer to where they live. But then, obviously, we have the turnover that we can do something about. And that has everything to do with improving the services that we deliver from the district level, the support that we provide to teachers in the classroom through any and all departments, and also helping principals and school teams build strong, healthy cultures. And that's what we're focused on to affect positively the turnover rate for our team.
In your professional opinion, what can we do as a community to better assist in that process?
Well, I would certainly, my response to that would be that as a district team, we take ownership for ensuring that we have things in place to help our teachers feel supported, feel like they're part of a great team. I think that community does an incredible job of making this really a community district. And so the community, I think, it does their part. And then the district supports that are put in place along the way go a long way to helping teachers feel invested, supported, and connected to their campuses. And so our focus has been on making sure we're doing our part. So there may be other expertise in the room that could answer your question more directly, but I know that in terms of from my perspective, and I know from the leadership team's perspective, we take ownership of the challenge, and we're ready and have been putting things in place to address it.
Thank you.
I have a question, a follow-up question on that. Who are those surveys made available to?
So this year the campus surveys are made available to campus staff. And so some surveys are targeted just toward teachers and other support staff on the campus. And then, of course, we will take those results and go through them and then share and have a conversation with campus leadership about, things that, trends that we see, things that come to light, concerns that we might look at addressing, and really strategizing around how do we address the concerns. And then, of course, with our new teachers, through our events that we had this year, they were targeted to all new teachers. And so every new teacher who has been with the district either this year or last, so if they were with us for for 2 years, then they were invited to the event, and we gathered feedback there from them, both verbal feedback, but also the written feedback that we received. And then that feedback was just kind of disseminated to the departments so that we could understand better how to support our new teachers as well.
Mr. McAvey, have you seen any trends with some of the difficult situations that we've continued going through with trying to get adjusted within our district, as far as the trends, as far as not having a superintendent here? Have that been some of the questions as well? I know these are difficult questions, but I think this needed to be known by the community, because I think you do go through transitions when you don't have a stable situation as far as your superintendent. So do you?
Certainly, I would say from my professional opinion that Edgewood's turnover rate historically has been significantly higher than Bexar County trends. So there have been systemic, I would say, issues that have caused a higher than normal turnover rate in the district, which is really why we've been targeted with our attempts to support teachers at different levels. In terms of more recent trends, I have not noticed through exit surveys or through anecdotal conversations with teachers that some of the challenges that the district has been faced with, the board has been faced with recently, have played more or less into turnover. And certainly, we're at the point toward the end of the summer where we'll have a strong idea of where our turnover is going to end for the 17-18 school year, to see if we've made progress toward our goals or still have, and obviously we'll always have work to do. So we'll have a good understanding of that, and then be able to kind of dig a little deeper and identify current trends. I do know that, last year I noticed, toward the end of the 16-17 school year, the turnover rate was, almost double that of surrounding districts. And so certainly there have been some challenges in our district, and we've just tried to put a really targeted approach to affect it for the good.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I have one more question, but it's for Mr. Chavez, and it wasn't on this particular constraint, but I would like to know, currently, how many schools do we have designated as IR, and how long have they been in IR?
Currently, from last school year, we had none. This year, we're projecting, and we're waiting for the state to come out, and we're looking at those numbers, and that's where we received that particular number of 8 students that are campuses that may be affected. So we looked at those particular campuses to project out 2018. And so, but those aren't final.
So that would be their first year, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And I also want to say that this particular goal or constraint is looking at professional development. The second one is looking at number of teachers or percent of teachers with 2 years or less. And that was a very good question, because in the context of turnover, we're relegated to look at new teachers, and sometimes we're looking at first-year teachers. But again, I believe that we're going to look at what those trends are, look what those percentages are, and report out what that threshold may be, so we have a way to measure that component over time.
Mr. Chavez, you mentioned that last year was unusually high with turnover. And so are you seeing that trend improving this year?
We have updates for the number of teachers we had this year and the number of new teachers that we have last year.
So with regards to turnover, we'll have most accurate numbers upcoming as we close out the summer, and we'll be able to know at that point our final turnover rate. And so we'll get those numbers and provide them to the superintendent, and I think that's something we can get relatively easily and quickly for you.
Because we're not finished with the summer, and we really look at the first day of school and also look at making sure that we have 100% board, which is what we did last summer.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Soto, we will provide those numbers to you in the board update. It'll go out every Friday to the board members.
Wonderful. Board members, do we have any other questions?
Ms. Chavez, one more question, please. The Lone Star governance, the monitoring process, we're in our first year, is that correct? So
Yes, ma'am.
these numbers here, are these the final from the year, or are we still going into August, September to complete the year?
That's a very good question. Our particular calendar runs from August through July, and our calendar is a 2-year calendar. And in addition to that, the goals are based on 5 years. So those goals that we met this year, the end of this point in time, we'll look back and see how we may adjust those, but we have the second year also. In some cases, we have advanced 2 years, so we're looking at the next year and the next year's goals. Those goals that may need to be adjusted because of change in accountability, under Dr. Hernandez's direction, we'll look at having a conversation regarding what those.
So our ultimate 5-year goal is what we're targeting, but throughout these, between now and 5 years, we just want to see ourselves progress.
We have yearly benchmarks that we're going to.
So it wouldn't be fair to compare us to last year at this time, where were we?
For each of these, we looked at the goals, and we also reported the last 5 years. So we can look at a comparison over the last 5-6 years.
Thanks.
Board members? Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you, sir.
At this time, we move on to the consent agenda items. Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda items as listed?
I would like to make a motion. I would like to motion to table this item, and it's not because I don't support it. It's just because I would like the opportunity to discuss it further at the next board work session, because it is a lot of policies. But I know that you guys have also done some major work in that area, so it would be with support of you.
When you mention that, is there a specific item within the consent agenda items that you're addressing?
In that specific one, I'm concerned with the Yale local policy, and I have a lot of questions about that part.
So what you're requesting is that we pull item A?
Yes, so we can further discuss it.
If we pull item A, then it will move to our action items, and at that point, we will vote on that individually, and then at that point, we'll see how the vote goes. Okay?
But, Mr. Romero, do you still want to move forward with your motion to table? If not, then you could withdraw the motion that's on the situation. The motion, you could withdraw it. You want to.
So it's appropriate that it'll move to an action item?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I motion we approve consent items B through T as listed on our agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Board Member Richard Santoyo moves. Board Member Timothy Payne seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We will now move to the action items. Dr. Hernandez, you have the floor.
Mr. Santoyo, Board of Managers, we bring to you action item 6A, which is the approval of the 2018-19 compensation plan. Our presenter is Mr. Travis McIlvain, who will be presenting to the board.
Good evening, Mr. President, Board of Managers and Trustees, and Dr. Hernandez and community. Thank you for consideration for action on the 2018-19 compensation plan. We're bringing you a compensation plan this evening with an understanding that we will be bringing an additional plan in August. Want to start by kind of rewinding, last year around the same time, we brought a compensation plan in July for your consideration that allowed the district to hold the compensation structures where they currently exist while the state was going through some legislative action so that had potential budget impact. In a similar way this year, we're asking that you consider approving a compensation plan that mirrors the existing plan, but for the 18-19 school year, understanding that in August, we will be in a position to bring you a budget for adoption that would potentially include recommendations to increase compensation for employment groups. This evening's compensation proposal is basically this past school year's compensation plan, but we'd like you to adopt it in its current form. There are some recommendations that I want to kind of point out to you, that are in your board packet. Some of the recommendations that we're asking for as part of this current adoption, it has no budget impact. Some have minimal budget impacts, and I want to kind of take you through them and answer any questions that you have. So we do have some reclassification of a couple of positions that have no budget impacts. It also includes retitling. In this case, these positions are being reclassified to better align with our pay structures. We do annual maintenance with CASB, and the consultants who come from the Texas Association of School Boards come and they evaluate our compensation plan. They're highly complimentary of the work that the board has done on an annual basis to maintain alignment, to maintain market competitiveness. And so as part of that, those annual reviews, there are recommendations that are made. And this year there have been certain recommendations to better align positions within our job groups. And so that's what you have in front of you. There are those with minimal budget impacts. There are a couple that do have minor budget impacts. And then our second recommendation that you see listed on page 1, behind the title page, recommendation number 2 is to implement an incentive for substitutes. We have experienced a challenge this past school year, particularly with secondary subs, but certainly with subs across the board. In secondary campuses, they have experienced a number of issues throughout the year in not being able to secure substitutes for assignments. And so principals have worked very diligently to make sure classes are covered, that student safety is always the first thing, the number one thing. And so we're bringing to the board a request to allow us to pay a $15 daily incentive to substitutes who accept and fulfill secondary school assignments. We believe that this will incentivize subs who may be very excited and comfortable at the elementary level. It may broaden their horizon a bit if there's an incentive on the table for them to secure a middle school or a high school assignment. And certainly this is all in an effort to continue to support our campuses and ensure that students are adequately monitored and that our campuses have available subs. And so our hope is that this incentive will help build our sub pool and encourage individuals to take those secondary assignments. Our third recommendation involves our stipends. And so our stipends are listed at the back of this compensation plan. There are some, minor recommendations that we're bringing to you. So the only differences in the compensation plan are these three recommendations, rather. Everything else in terms of the pay scales, the teacher pay scale, the job groups stays the same for now. And then we will bring an accompanying compensation plan for consideration in August when we bring the budget to the board.
Board members, do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McPhee, what generates the approval of how much a department gets in the stipend? For example, the art department, the athletic department. I know we've had some of our organizations do very well this past year, the chess department, our football team. However, I don't see changes in the stipend. So what would need to be done to increase them if need?
Sure, a great question. It's twofold. It's actually threefold. First, if a department head feels that a stipend needs to be addressed, if there needs to be an increase because of an increase in roles and responsibilities, or perhaps an increase because of a new set of responsibilities or a new program, then they can make that recommendation in the spring while we are reviewing and going over potential changes to our compensation plan. So that's the first approach, and we often do field those and just take them through the appropriate channels and make sure that we review, and if it makes sense, and we have adjusted stipends. Last year we did address several stipends with the board, and you supported, the board supported increases in stipends for other employees. So that's one way that we adjust adjust stipends. The second way is through TASB's recommendation. As part of their compensation review, they do a market analysis for all of our compensation plan, and it includes stipends. And so they will evaluate how our stipends compare to, market districts, local districts, even districts across the state who, subscribe and submit to their surveys. And it gives us an idea of how competitive we are and how reasonable we are with the expectations we have for certain positions. So that's really the second, and most, I guess, those two are the most traditional ways that we address stipends.
So changes to this one that we're going to receive cannot be changed because they would have had to come to you in spring?
Any changes that's made to the compensation plan after the compensation plan's adopted requires board approval. There have been times when it's not unprecedented for us to bring additional recommendations to the board for consideration. So if there were additional recommendations that were made that were supported and there was a need for it, and we'd be compelled to come to the board for approval, that certainly is within the realm of possibility.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
There was one position that was listed as a project coordinator at Memorial High School. Can you tell me a little bit more about that position?
I'm going to take my best shot at it, Mr. Romero. Project coordinator is a position that's grant funded. It is part of the redesign grant, and the redesign grant is a several $1 million grant that was awarded this past school year to Memorial High School. Part of what was written into the grant was an individual who would coordinate all the activities related to the grant, and so that's where that position. It's a grant funded position. It doesn't actually have a budget impact in that sense. I'm sorry, let me complete the answer. It was written into the compensation plan this year since it was added at the end of this past school year. So that's why it says new in your compensation plan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Board members, do we have any additional questions? Thank you, Mr. McElvain.
Thank you.
Dr. Hernandez.
Mr. Soto, Board of Managers, we bring to you our next item, which is item 6B, which is approval of the Lone Star Governance Quarterly Board Progress Tracker for the 6th quarter. Our presenter this evening is Mr. Chavez again.
Soto, I think we need to vote on 6A first to approve it.
We will now vote on the item that we pulled from the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Sorry? I'm sorry.
Well, we have to vote on, you're correct, on the item that was pulled.
Yes,
plus
sir.
Agenda item 6A, which is the one that Travis presented on compensation.
Okay.
Both.
Do we have a motion for item 6A?
I motion the approval of the 2018-19 compensation plan as presented in draft form.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Secretary Stella Camacho moves. Board Member Richard Santoyo seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Dr. Hernandez?
We will now move to action item 6B, which is approval of the Lone Star Governance quarterly board progress tracker for the sixth quarter. Our presenter is Mr. Philip Chavez.
Good evening, board members. Today is the approval of the Lone Star Governance Quarterly Board Tracker. And in your agenda, in your board book on page 245, we have the current quarter. And I'd like to look at the current quarter and the one quarter ago, which was back in April. And as you can see, for Vision 1, the count is the same at 12. Vision 2, the count is the same at 12. At Vision 3, the count is the same at 9. At Vision 4, the count is the same at 4. Accountability 1 and 2 are still set at 0. And the structure is still at 4 as the last quarter. The one change that we had was in advocacy. Advocacy, if you recall, were providing information to the community and to the constituents regarding the Lone Star governance goals. As you recall, since our last time, within this last quarter, we had the town hall meetings at which we had 3 of those particular programs, and those components were also posted on the website. So that allowed us to move up that next level from 0 to 9. And in Unity, we're still at parity at 9. So the only place that we saw the difference was in advocacy, and that was based on the town hall meetings that we had this past quarter.
Board members, do we have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the Lone Star Governance Quarterly Board Progress Tracker for the 6th quarter, July of 2018.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Board Member Richard Santoyo moves. Vice President Frank Espinosa seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
We could go back to 5A.
Okay. We will now address the consent agenda A that was moved to an action item. Do we have a motion?
A motion to table it for the same reason. It's not that I don't support it, but I just like to have the opportunity to discuss it further in the next board work session.
Question.
You need a second.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Do we have any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed say nay. The item will be tabled. The time is now 6:50 p.m. and the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 551.071 and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. The board is now in closed session. Reconvene from closed session. The time is now 10 minutes after 8 p.m., and the board will take appropriate action on items if necessary, as discussed in closed session. Item A, action regarding approval of appointment of Chief of Schools. Dr. Hernandez, do you have a recommendation?
Mr. Soto, Board of Managers and Board of Trustees, Superintendent, my recommendation is that we approve the appointment of the Chief of Schools for elementary schools.
And the name of that person?
Dr. Kimberly Gilmore Matkins as the Chief of Schools for elementary.
Do we have a motion?
I motion to approve the recommendation of Dr. Kimberly Gilmore Matkins for Chief of Schools Elementary.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Secretary Stella Camacho moves. Board Member Timothy Payne seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. With regard to item B, action regarding approval of appointment of Chief of Schools Secondary. Dr. Hernandez, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Soto, Board of Managers and Board of Trustees, I recommend that we move to approve the secondary Chief of Schools, Ms. Angela Dominguez.
Board members, do we have a motion?
Excuse me. I motion that we accept the recommendation of Ms. Angela Dominguez for Chief of Schools Secondary.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Secretary Stella Camacho moves. Board Member Martha Castilla seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. With regard to item C, action regarding approval of appointment of Executive Director of Operations. Dr. Hernandez, do we have a recommendation?
Mr. Soto, Board of Managers and our Board of Trustees, I would move that we approve the appointment of the Executive Director of Operations, Mr. Elvis Williams.
Board members, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve the appointment of the Executive Director of Operations.
Board members, do we have a second?
A second.
Board Member Timothy Payne moves. Board Member Richard Santoyo seconds. Do we have any discussion? We have no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We do not have any additional items on the agenda. The time is now 8:14. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Board Member Richard Santoyo moves. Board Member Timothy Payne seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.